In 1973, before smartphones existed, before streaming services, before the internet changed everything, there was a different kind of connection. In industrial districts across America, modest brick buildings housed the heartbeat of home entertainment. These weren't glamorous tech campuses or sterile modern facilities. They were simple factories where ordinary people built extraordinary things. The morning shift begins at 7 a.m. sharp. Workers arrive in their personal cars, Chevrolets, Fords, Buicks, parking in gravel lots beside buildings that have stood unchanged for decades. Smoke rises gently from industrial chimneys, not pollution, but the honest exhaust of manufacturing. The sign by the entrance reads simply, "Electronics Manufacturing," in plain block letters. This is where kitchen radios were born. Not designed by committees or focus groups, but crafted by hands that understood the weight of wood-grain plastic and the satisfaction of a dial that clicks precisely into place. Each radio would become someone's daily companion, playing morning news while coffee brewed, background music during dinner preparation, late-night talk shows for the sleepless. The building itself tells the story of American manufacturing. Functional, unpretentious, built to last. Large windows let in natural light, reducing the need for artificial illumination. The architecture speaks of an era when factories were neighborhood fixtures, employing local families for generations. Inside these walls, a process unchanged for years continues with quiet efficiency. Heavy metal doors swing open with a satisfying clunk, revealing a vast interior space that hums with purposeful activity. The factory floor stretches across concrete foundations, illuminated by rows of fluorescent lights that cast everything in a warm, practical glow. This isn't the sterile environment of modern electronics manufacturing. It's a place where people work with their hands, where the smell of solder and wood stain mingles in the air. Workers move with practiced efficiency, their clothing simple and functional. Men wear button-down shirts and work pants, women in modest blouses and skirts that won't catch in machinery. No corporate uniforms, no high-tech safety gear, just people dressed for honest work. Hair is styled in the fashion of the time. Men with sideburns and neat parts, women with gentle waves and practical length. The sound is constant but not overwhelming. The gentle whir of assembly line motors, the rhythmic clicking of components being fitted together, occasional conversation between colleagues who have worked side by side for years. This is manufacturing as community, where everyone knows their role in creating something that will outlast them all. Workstations are arranged in logical sequence, each step building upon the last. The pace is deliberate, unhurried. Quality comes from experience, not speed. Supervisors walk the floor not to pressure workers, but to ensure standards are maintained. This is craftsmanship disguised as mass production, where pride in work shows in every carefully assembled component. The process begins with simplicity itself. Cardboard boxes filled with components that would be recognizable to any radio enthusiast. Coils of copper wire wound tight on spools, vacuum tubes still glowing with the warmth of analog technology, speakers with paper cones and magnetic assemblies that will faithfully reproduce sound for decades. Wooden cabinets arrive pre-cut, but unfinished, their grain patterns carefully matched for aesthetic appeal. These aren't particle board or plastic, they're real wood, chosen for acoustic properties as much as appearance. The wood grain finish will become iconic, gracing kitchen counters and bedroom nightstands across America. Metal chassis components gleam under the factory lights, stamped steel frames that will provide structural integrity, aluminum dials that will turn smoothly for years of use. Everything is analog, everything is visible, everything can be understood by looking at it. No microprocessors, no digital displays, no planned obsolescence. Workers sort components with practiced eyes, checking for defects that machines might miss. A speaker with a torn cone, a tube with a cracked envelope, a dial that doesn't turn smoothly. These are caught and set aside for repair or replacement. Quality control begins with the raw materials, ensuring that only the best components make it into the final product. The rhythm of sorting and checking creates its own music, a percussion of parts being placed and moved, the whisper of paper being unwrapped, the gentle clink of metal on metal. At long wooden benches worn smooth by years of use, workers begin the delicate process of bringing electronics to life. Each person has their specialty. One installs transformers, another winds coils, a third solders connections with the steady hand that comes only from experience. The chassis takes shape slowly, methodically. Vacuum tubes are seated in their sockets with gentle pressure, their pins aligning perfectly with practiced precision. Capacitors are mounted with care, their values checked against handwritten specifications. This is electronics before computers, when every connection was made by human hands guided by human judgment. Soldering irons heat to the perfect temperature, creating joints that will last decades. The smell of rosin core solder fills the air, a scent that would become nostalgic to anyone who worked in electronics during this era. Each connection is inspected visually, tested with simple meters, approved by eyes that have seen thousands of similar assemblies. The work requires concentration, but not stress. Conversations flow naturally between colleagues, stories shared about families, weekend plans, local news. This is manufacturing as social activity, where the rhythm of work allows for human connection. Radio after radio takes shape, each one identical yet unique in the small variations that come from handcrafted assembly. Workers take pride in their speed without sacrificing quality. A good assembler can complete a chassis in 45 minutes, every connection perfect, every component properly seated. The moment of transformation arrives when the speaker is mounted and the tuning mechanism installed. This is where an assembly of parts becomes a radio, where the potential for sound becomes reality. The speaker, with its paper cone and magnetic assembly, is positioned carefully in the chassis, secured with screws that will hold it steady through years of vibration. The tuning assembly is a marvel of mechanical precision, gears and pulleys that translate the rotation of a dial into the movement of variable capacitors. Each station on the dial must align perfectly with its frequency, a calibration process that requires both technical knowledge and artistic intuition. Workers test each radio as it nears completion, slowly turning the dial through its range. Static gives way to the faint sound of distant stations, then stronger signals as the tuning sharpens. AM brings news and talk, FM delivers music with clarity that still amazes. The first sound from each radio is a small miracle. Electricity becoming music, engineering becoming art. Adjustments are made with tiny screwdrivers, tweaking inductors and capacitors until the tuning is perfect. This isn't done by computer or automatic test equipment. It's done by ear, by workers who understand how a radio should sound. The human element in quality control ensures that each radio will perform not just adequately, but beautifully. The wooden cabinet slides over the completed chassis with satisfying precision, transforming the exposed electronics into a finished product that belongs in someone's home. Screws are tightened to exact specifications, not too loose, not too tight, just enough to ensure the radio will stay together through years of daily use. The final quality check is performed by experienced workers whose ears have been trained by thousands of radios. They turn each dial, adjust the volume, test both AM and FM reception. They listen not just for function, but for the subtle qualities that separate a good radio from a great one. The smoothness of the tuning, the clarity of the sound, the absence of unwanted noise. Each approved radio receives a simple quality control sticker, applied by hand with the same care that went into every other step of the process. The radio is then cleaned with a soft cloth, removing any fingerprints or dust from the manufacturing process. It emerges perfect, ready to begin its life in someone's kitchen or bedroom. The completed radios are placed carefully in cardboard boxes with foam padding, along with a simple instruction manual printed on paper that will yellow with age but remain readable for decades. The packaging is functional rather than flashy, designed to protect the radio during shipping, not to sell it on store shelves. As each box is sealed, it represents the culmination of hours of careful work by dozens of skilled hands, ready to bring music and news into American homes. Thank you for joining us on this journey through vintage manufacturing. If you enjoyed this glimpse into how things were made in a simpler time, please subscribe to our channel for more documentary content about industrial history and vintage technology.
Oh, before you go, if this video made sense to you, subscribe to the channel. This helps YouTube deliver this content to even more people. Also, leave your like. It's essential for our growth here on the platform. And if you want to support us even more, Super Thanks is right below and helps directly with the production of new content. Comment here where you're from. And thank you for watching us until the end. See you in the next video.